Hello scallywags, welcome to this behind the scenes deep dive into a wedding day. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to do a little spoken to camera intro, so I'm going to be quiet here and you can listen to that. Very good. Well, here in Mount Gambier, Laura behind the camera, just getting things ready. Today we have a wedding, lovely couple called Tim and Jess. These guys had to postpone their wedding last year, so it's been a long time coming. The day's finally here. Pretty excited. It's nice to get out of town. Got a beautiful day, lots of sunshine. No complaints. Very good. This is my first time doing a deep dive behind the scenes into a wedding day like this. So I'm kind of learning as I'm going. There's me tying a shoelace, riveting stuff. The whole purpose of these videos will be to share tips and tricks for people planning weddings, but also photographers who might want to get a little look into how a photographer works. And this is a very important thing here. Talking to Dad, getting him on side. Here we are, moving a pillow and also rocking some really beautiful window light. I love window light. It's so easy to take photos in and it produces really great results. Often for a getting ready section part of the day with the guys, it's all kept very, very loose and casual. I was talking about my morning there, watching a Christopher Nolan Batman marathon. Guys don't take too long to get ready, so I only spend about an hour max with guys. There's not much to it. We just hang out and have a good time. And do things like this. Drink some expensive whiskey. There's a pretty standard face that I make. Often my mind is constantly thinking about things, trying to find nice little compositions and pockets of light. And here's another thing that I find myself doing quite regularly, and that's helping boys pin flowers to their jackets. So, hot tip, if you tell your florist to put some heavy duty magnets on your flowers, you'll save yourself a bunch of time. And here come some photos. That was nice. We're back outside with the boys. Always try and take some photos of the boys looking sharp and dapper and handsome. Sometimes later in the day there can be a lot going on, and I want to make sure that I've got some stuff early so that if things are a little bit hectic later on and we're pressed for time and I forget to take some photos then, I've got these already done. In a minute we're going to be heading to Jess, the bride, and the bridesmaids getting ready at the farm. But before that happens, here's one last photo of the guys. Here we go, we're on our way. Such a nice part of the world down around Mount Gambier. As you can see, I liked it. Like I was saying just before, things can get a little bit hectic sometimes, and there's not always a lot of time to take photos of things like ceremony details. Thankfully for this day, Jess got ready at the same place they held their ceremony. So before we head in, I ran outside and took some photos of their ceremony setup. And here are some photos of that. The farm also had some livestock and a very cute cow called Angus.
Here he comes, Alex.
Come on, Freddie.
Now we're inside with the girls. First things first is always to just check in and see how people are going. I really don't want to take my cameras out too quickly because that can make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, and yeah, I think it's a little bit impersonal. So just taking the time to catch up, see how everyone's going, how their morning was before pulling out my camera is something I really try and do. Now Jess is giving me the lowdown of how Tim and Jess met. And now we're upstairs in front of this really beautiful window that was giving off some lovely light. So that's where we shot her details. Coming up in a second, you're going to see me asking Jess if she would like to see a photo of her makeup on the back of my camera. This does two things. One, it can give the bride a little bit of extra added confidence, and it's a nice way to look after the makeup artist with some nice photos too. Now we're back upstairs and Jess is getting herself all dressed in her get-up. I think it's pretty important to let this particular part of the day flow as naturally as possible. A little bit of guidance is helpful, but if things can kind of just flow on their own, that works really, really well. There's one of the bridesmaids seeing Jess in her dress for the first time. That was a pretty great reaction. A common theme at this stage of a wedding day is often for a bride to feel quite nervous about having her photo taken. And that's perfectly normal and very reasonable. But I always remind people that photos aren't about how you look, they're about how you feel. So if you feel good, you're going to look good. If you feel a little bit awkward, that's how you'll look. So the space that I'm trying to create for people in this moment is a really calm, relaxed one, so that carries over to the person I'm photographing and it comes through in the image. Now here's something far more important than taking some photos, and that's figuring out how to organise a wedding dress when you're getting out of the car. Very important to have a plan. All sarcasm aside, it's actually really important to have a dress that you're comfortable in and can move quite freely in. That's just a little tip. Now here are some photos. Sometimes people have these ideas that you need to smile as soon as the camera goes up, and I find often that if we do that, we overthink what our smile is doing. And for me in particular, that's when I get the classic quivery lip. We don't want that. So sometimes just being present in the space and being coached and guided a little bit to adjust our mindset is really helpful. And Jess responded really well to that. And now we're outside again, it's time for the ceremony to start. I always make a point of trying to meet the bride at the car as she's getting out. One, to take a few photos, but it's also a great opportunity for me to remind the bridesmaids and the bride and whoever it is that's walking down the aisle not to rush, just to take their time, slow and steady, to not do things like hiding behind their flowers, and it kind of just gets them back focused on the task at hand, because often you're walking across grass in high heels and you need to be focused, and we don't want any stumbles, so we find that's really helpful. I like to hang down the front while the walk down the aisle was happening too. It's a nice little pocket of space for me to get lots of variety, lots of photos of different reactions to certain things. And it means that I'm not in people's way either. I can make myself pretty unobtrusive, and as I'm a big guy, that's pretty important. I never want to distract people, but for me creatively, I like to get in close to moments because I feel things more when I'm in close, and I think that really helps other people feel things when they look at the image, because it brings them back to that moment and makes them feel like they're right there. So if I do get in close to certain things, I tend to get in, get what I need, and then get out pretty quickly. This ceremony was a really, really quick one as well, so I was racing around trying to get as much variety as possible. And there they are, Mr. and Mrs. So happy for those guys. Here are some photos from the ceremony. Straight after the ceremony is often my favourite part of a wedding day, because you get people just loving on each other, and it's really awesome. This is often when I find people forget that I'm around, and that means that their aversion to having their photo taken goes away because they don't know they're having their photo taken. You get really beautiful, candid moments, expressions of love, and that's the stuff that really lights me up creatively. There's the grandmas. That was the group photo, and here's us doing the group photo. Group photos are fun. They take a little bit of time to organise, and you've got to get up high, as you can see. Up next, we have family photos, and the goal is always to try and get these done as quickly and efficiently as possible, because the bride and groom are the ones that have to stand there for every photo. And more often than not, people just want to get a drink at this stage. On this particular day, we had a really long family photo list to get through, and we had some challenging lighting conditions, so we had to move into this little patch of shade. So adapting is often quite important as a wedding photographer. But once we got situated, we got things done quite quickly, and we had some fun, and it meant that Tim and Jess could go enjoy some time with their guests shortly after this. At this stage, I like to just run around and try and get some nice candid photos of people enjoying a drink and some canapes, wherever they're doing those. The approach to these photos is always to just try and make them as fun and lighthearted as possible, and to help the bridal party forget that they're even having their photo taken, and just make sure that people have a blast with their mates. And here's Tim, unfortunately, walking into a cactus.
Oh my god.
That was a sympathetic ooh from Laura. So, we'd like to play a lot of fun games with the bridal party. This is one of my favourites. You'll see pretty quickly that we've got people with a nice relaxed smiles. Because they're more focused on having fun than actually having their photo taken. So it works really well. Here we are, getting the classic grandparent shot. A nice, safe, traditional portrait. There it is. And a couple of photos with their dog Wilson. He was a very sweet boy. There's that classic champagne pop as well, because that was heaps of fun. As we were in a cactus garden, I kind of let Tim and Jess just take a gentle stroll at their own pace, doing their own thing, and I just maneuvered myself around them as I didn't want any repeated situations experienced of walking into a cactus like Tim did. Now we're back at the farm, in front of the beautiful main house, and in the gardens, just trying to find some good light and interesting compositions. And I'm happy to say that we did that, which is great. All up, we probably spent about an hour taking photos. Sometimes we stretch this out to about an hour and a half, but today, on this day, an hour was plenty. Now we're on to the party. So these guys did some speeches pretty quickly at the beginning of the reception to get a block of them out of the way. And during speeches, I'm kind of just taking the same approach as a ceremony, making myself unobtrusive, focusing a little more on reactions rather than the actual speaker. After this, people got to have a mingle, eat some food, and I was outside checking sunset, seeing what was going on with the light. And it got really good, got really pretty. We didn't get too much footage from sunset, but that's okay. There's Tim giving me a hug. Thanks, Tim. Now we're back doing some light adjustment. And here's a dance. The MC decided to turn the music off right at the beginning. There he goes. Well, we're nearly at the end of this video now. If you're still here, thanks for watching. And if you'd like to see some more content just like this, let me know by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving me a comment. If you've got some positive comments, great. If you've got some negative comments, great. Just let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.